In the previous class, we saw how exactly the bridges can be used to condition the signals coming from different resistive type of sensors, where the variation in the resistance can be used for sensing different parameters. Especially, we saw the examples with temperature measurements. The same thing can be applied to even strain measurements or other physical parameters like force or displacement. These measurements also can be done with the help of bridges. And also, the signal conditioning can be done with the help of bridges. Today, we will see different parameters when you use the bridge. What are the other parameters which affect the performance of the bridges? Assuming that the bridge is stable. What I mean by bridge is stable is the resistors which are connected in the ratio arm plus another third arm resistor. In some cases, it may be another transducer or a resistive sensor, because definitely the fourth arm is a sensor only. In some cases, where to minimize or to bring down the linearity, non-linearity, to bring it down or to make the system linear, what we use is in two arms, the resistive sensors are used so that it takes care of temperature variations due to self-heating or resistance variation due to ambience variations, especially the temperature and the strain or stress. So by taking care of these parameters, the bridge as a whole can be made stable. Even you can have temperature compensation networks or the creation of temperature insensitive ambience. We can minimize the errors occurring due to temperature variation in all the four arm resistors, so that exclusively whatever the parameter we are measuring, suppose if I take example of a temperature measurement, the temperature variation which is sensed by the resistive sensor should happen only due to temperature variation or the parameter under measurement, not because of self-heating or any other variations. So by taking care of this, by making the bridge stable to read the variations in the temperature, there are certain factors which affect the performance of the bridge. For example, the variation in the supply voltage, because bridge needs to be supplied with a voltage. So what type of power supply the Wheatstone's bridge should be supplied with? Because basically what we need is between the two terminals or two junctions of the bridge, we are connecting the power supply, and another two terminals or another two junctions, the opposite junctions, are going to give us the variation in the voltage occurring due to the variation in the sensor resistance. So when this is the condition, suppose consider a case where due to some reasons the voltage applied between these two junctions is varied, or it is varying due to power supply variations. Now under such cases, what is happening here is the variation in the or the imbalance in the bridge is happening because this power supply which is supplying the power to the bridge is getting varied. So this is not due to the variation in the thermal levels or the temperature levels for which the sensor is connected. That means whatever at the output, or the, take for example the circuit I am displaying on the screen, whatever input is being supplied to this operational amplifier, the variation is happening not due to the variation in the temperature sensed by the sensor, but it is because of the imbalance caused due to the variation in the power supply. Now, this is definitely going to cause erroneous results, and it may reach very easily the output end or the processing unit. So, under such cases, what should be done? So, if you all remember what exactly is voltage regulation, we'll take help of those voltage regulators. Under such cases, what is done is, in spite of using regulated power supplies at the input end, there are other reference points which are connected here, such that always the reference voltage is monitored. If the reference voltage is changing due to any reasons associated with the power supply, they are again, with the help of a compensation network, they are again brought back to the reference level. Otherwise, this variation in the supply will reach the output end or the processing unit. And by mistake, the processor can take it as variation in the sensor element only. As a result, the output may be erroneous, or you don't get the accurate results. And if the variations are of few degrees of temperature, then definitely it is going to cause harm to the product or the furnaces which it is controlling. So to avoid that, first thing, you should continuously monitor the power supply. If it is fluctuating beyond the tolerance limits, then it has to be calibrated. Now, due to this voltage variations, not only the voltage, the current which is flowing in these arms will definitely change. Sometimes, due to variation in the resistors, if self-heating is not taken care of, then also the current varies because the resistors are changing, so the current is changing. So under such cases, the current variation through these resistors also should be taken into consideration. So to obtain an output signal from a Wheatstone bridge that includes one or more sensors, we must supply the bridge with a voltage or current, DC or AC, that depends upon what type of measurement you are making. Most of the time, when resistors are connected like this, resistance variable sensors are used, it is always the DC supply. Because whatever measurements we make are going to be DC voltages. So the difference in DC voltages are going to be applied here to the conditioning amplifier. If you are making use of some capacitors or crystals, especially the piezoelectric crystals, if you are making use of, then capacitance variation is also a variable factor. Under such cases, they are supplied with AC voltages. Otherwise, in most of these temperature measurements which involve RTDs or thermistors or simple thermocouple or any of these resistance variable sensors, it is always the DC voltage. And DC voltage variations can be regulated with the help of simple Zener regulators along with proper good resistors where the lead compensation is taken care of. The lead compensation also is a very important factor, which in earlier bridges we have discussed. If the lead wires are long, then how exactly by using lead compensation networks or the parallel 3-wire, 4-wire resistors, we can compensate. By connecting 3 wires or 4 wires in parallel, we can compensate for the long length of the lead wires, which adds to the resistance of the sensor. So first condition is the supply must be stable with time and temperature. So these two parameters, try to understand them. Now what is with the time? Now all of us know that these power supplies basically make use of the bridges. All the regulated power supplies, they have bridges. So bridges, what I mean, not the Wheatstone's bridges, the bridge rectifiers. So these bridge rectifiers are basically made up of your semiconducting diodes. So when semiconducting diodes are used, naturally with time, the semiconductor's conductivity starts varying. As a result, the current variations in them are due to aging of the component, the variation of resistors and in turn the current is very, very high. If the component is new, the variations are minimum. If the component is getting old, then the rate of change of voltage with the time or with the temperature are very, very high. So such ones, if you are going for precision measurements, they should be avoided. If you can't avoid them, under such cases, there should always be a reference point where the reference voltage has to be continuously monitored. If the reference voltage is going beyond, or if the power supply is giving a reading beyond the reference voltage in the positive or in the negative direction, then immediately it has to be changed. Next thing, with the temperature. Now with the temperature again, the semiconducting devices, even the resistors for that matter, if continuously the resistors are used for longer duration, the leads and all continuously they get heated up, they expand. So as a result, the resistance introduced due to them with the actual resistance, simple, your carbon or color coded resistors or wire wound resistors, all of them with temperature, definitely they are going to follow basically R is equal to rho L by E, this formula, and also the Ohm's laws. So continuous heating will lead to variation in the dimensions of the resistance if it is wire bond. If it is a simple carbon resistors, even the leads also make lot of difference. And also we have, as I mentioned, the semiconducting devices, even the Zener regulator. Most 99% of the cases, the Zener regulators are used. And these Zener regulators also are very good if they are new. Due to aging, the same parameters which we discussed just now, the conduction parameters varying due to temperature because the semiconducting material is the base for operation. So the current variations increase rapidly. And because of these variations, the voltage variation happening due to time and temperature, naturally the supply, if it is designed for say 5 volts, then the voltage may drift usually on the higher side. So even if it drifts around 100 millivolts, this 100 millivolts, as we all know, these resistor sensors are giving us the voltages of the order of few millivolts, and the bridges are basically used to sense a smaller variation of the order of millivolts. Definitely this millivolt drift in the power supply will cause the variation in the similar range. As a result, the amplifier may not detect this as variation happening due to the drift in the power supply. So this gets propagated to the output section. It could be either an analog to digital converter or digital to analog converter section, or it could be directly to a microprocessor or microcontroller section. To any one of this also, if it goes, the error gets propagated. In case if it is given to ADC, there is a possibility that the analog to digital converter, if it is of say for few millivolt variation, if you are using 12-bit converter, then imagine the resolution is 1 by 2 raised to 12. So that much of accuracy the converter is giving you. So this 100 millivolt definitely gets propagated into the next level. So this has to be taken care of. You cannot simply say that it is simply in the millivolt range, so the error is not much. No, because our sensors only are producing the outputs in the millivolt range. One has to be very careful in checking the drift happening with the voltage powers or power supplies. So in most of the cases, the ratiometric measurements are used. This, in the earlier classes also we have discussed this, that is especially the bridges with ratio arms. So this is what is done even in A to D converters also. The ratiometric ones, if they are used, automatically because of the ratio arms, such drifts are eliminated. Completely they are eliminated because in the ratio arms, the error which is getting propagated gets cancelled. So automatically the ratiometric type give high, stable, accurate results. In case if ratiometric ADCs are not used, then what is the caution that is to be taken? So under such cases, as I mentioned earlier here, the reference points are always monitored. And there is one more aspect with operational amplifiers, that is power supply rejection ratio. Now what exactly this power supply rejection ratio means? In op amps, earlier also we have considered few cases. Now with this example, I would like to elaborate the meaning of power supply rejection ratio or PSRR ratio. Whenever any op amp is selected, first thing is the common mode rejection ratio is studied from the data sheet. Then your PSRR. Now this PSRR is basically, naturally for an amplifier, it is not that it is a setup of power supply and amplifier which is used in pairs. You can use any power supply which is producing, which is giving you the regulated voltage. It is not that this is the matched pair only that should be used, nothing like that. So op amps are quite flexible to other power supplies. You have seen in Darlington pair and all, where the pairs of transistors are used. They are matched pairs, so only those pairs have to be used to get proper readings. But here, there is no matched pair as such, the voltage supply or the power supply and the op amp IC matched pair. So this power supply rejection ratio means whenever I change the power supply from one to another for any reason, whether the time and temperature what we discussed just now, for that reason or for any other reasons, if you don't want to use a particular power supply, you change that supply to another one with the same specification, of course. Under such cases, any variation due to this change in the power supply, how much variation the output is producing, how much variation the op amp is producing at the output end. If that lies within certain limitations, only then that particular setup is used. So this is given by this power supply rejection ratio. This is one case. And second case is, now naturally when we are using a variable power supply, we tend to use it over its full range. Say from 0 to 30 volt supply if it is given to us, or if our need is 0 to 30 volts, then we go on varying it for different readings, and whichever is optimum or whichever we need for that specific application, it could be 5 volts, 10 volts, 12 volts. Accordingly, we use it. If it has to drive a motor or so, then minimum 12 volts is used. If it is a simple IC, then 5 volts may be sufficient. So under such cases, when I change the voltage levels from 0 to say 5, 10, 12 like that, then also the output variation produced by this op amp is considered. Proportional variations are there, then this is acceptable. If improportionally the output is varying, for 5 volts, say the output given is 5.005, and for 10 volts, if it starts giving suddenly different voltage levels, then also the power supply rejection ratio is very high and it cannot be used for all the applications. So these are the two cases where the variation in the power supply can happen when it is connected to op amp. So once the op amp amplifier is designed, so this power supply rejection ratio is taken into account and the design is put in place. So whenever we say that, okay, a feedback amplifier is there, it takes care of all of them by the offset condition setting, by the power supply checking. So all these points are considered when you design an amplifier. So here power supply rejection ratio, when it comes to op amps, it is already taken into account when it is put in design. But even then, when erroneous results or drifts of the very high order are reaching the output end, this needs to be considered again. Now here, so we discussed about the variation in the voltage. Now many times what happens? The currents also vary. Now the current which is being supplied from this voltage point when it is getting varied, so this also produces variation in the null deflection points, or where exactly you have connected the galvanometer. The current starts flowing there because the potential differences are getting generated. Now under such cases, what is done is, here this is the setup. You can see here an IC voltage reference. So this is the V reference. This is the input which is coming in, and this is being compared with the V reference. Now if the comparison is resulting in the difference current, then you know very well that this reference and whatever V is getting supplied from the power supply are different. If there is no difference, then naturally this factor is 0, and here half the current from here, half the current from here. So total making it equal to the voltage and the current which is supposed to be coming from the single supply. If there is difference, only then the difference current flows here. If both are equal, then half here will be flowing and you will be getting the correct current. So this is how, by maintaining a reference voltage, we can balance or we can supply the desired or the designed value of the current to the bridge. So reference keeps the voltage driving the bridge constant, even though the current comes from the voltage supply having poor stability. So by connecting again the resistors or resistive networks, you can do it. By connecting resistors in series or parallel or some series parallel combinations, you can always make the correct value of the current flow. That is how you can minimize the drift happening in either the current that is being supplied to the bridge or the voltage which is being applied to the bridge. So these drifts have to be always kept in check. Now these variations, depending upon the application, how much variation is in the tolerance limit, that one needs to keep account of. Now what I mean by this is, always I give example of a thermometer where the variation of 1 degree difference what it can make. And also the ambient temperature, if the variation is 1 degrees, what difference does it make? So similarly here also, the depending upon the application, whatever variation is happening, what accuracy is required for a specific application, one needs to take care of these drifts in the voltage or variation in the current. So we'll see here stability of several components that provide a constant output voltage. Now, how much is tolerated? As I mentioned, it depends. Here you can see microseconds of drift or microvolts of drift or microamperes of current in the load. So these all for different ADC, or this is a sensor, or this is a reference voltage sources. So for all of them, depending upon what components they are, you have different variable parameters and variable factors which need to be considered. These all factors depend upon the application which you are concentrating on. Here, detection methods for Wheatstone's bridge. First thing, the type of detecting device for the output signal of a sensor depends on the intended application. Now, what I mean by intended application? Now, so far, we have seen different applications, say one for point measurement, that is the temperature measurement at a point. And one more, we have seen a circuit for the temperature measurement of difference in the temperatures. And the third example we have taken for measurement of average temperatures. So for all these three applications, we have used null deflection mechanism of the bridge. Now, when we use null deflection mechanism of the bridge, when we are considering the averaging, here this circuit will go back. So several equal sensors placed in the same bridge arm yield an output voltage that is proportional to the average of these three resistor variations. So average of these three resistors is going to be present in this arm, and that variation is going to be sensed here by the deflection happening due to variation in the voltage. So in this case, here three sensors are connected. Now you don't know which actually they are supposed to be, or rather we assume them that they are equal sensors. But still, even though when we say equal sensors, the variation in them can be different. These x1, x2, x3 factors can be different because they are connected to different points. So the variations happening in them are definitely different. And the linearity or non-linearity that is happening in those sensors again is different. So here what happens under such cases is, when we are considering the averaging, the possibility of error getting introduced is more. Here I mean the error. It can be absolute error, or it can be linearity or non-linearity error, or it can be accuracy in the measurement of these sensors. It can be any of them. So if there is a linearity or non-linearity error which is getting introduced, because it is in the ratio arm, some amount of correction or conditioning is automatically done because of the ratiometric arms. And if it is exclusively due to the fault in any one of the resistors, that is in X1 or X2 or X3 variations, then also we may get some average value which is near to the accurate one. Similarly, when we are measuring the differences, the earlier case we have seen here, to measure the difference in the temperatures, especially in case of pipes, where one point of the pipe is at certain temperature, the other point of the pipe is at different temperature. So you can consider the molten metals or something, or any liquid flow, where one is at certain temperature and the other one is at different fluid flow. So under such cases, the difference in the temperature, if both of them are equally accurate, then the readings or the difference produced by them is accurate. There is every possibility that one may be giving erroneous results. So here the probability of error is very, very high. So usually under such cases, what is done is not only by one bridge measurement, there is another mechanism which is in place always to measure the temperatures. And if the difference in these two measurements is found very, very high, then it is always checked which one is giving erroneous results. If the differences in these two measurements are considerable, then definitely it requires some monitoring. The entire system of measurements requires some monitoring. Then automatically these are tested individually and they are calibrated. Sometimes nothing may be wrong, but the calibration might have gone out of order. So each sensor requires calibration. And for each sensor, the calibration techniques are different. If they are calibrated by using the same techniques, then the errors introduced are minimum. Because over which range they have to be used, that is very, very important here. Suppose when they are using PT100 here, PT100 is RTD, which is made up of platinum. And this is usually used for the measurement of temperature around 1000 degrees centigrade very easily. Now, when you are making use of such a one, and here the calibration depends upon how much supply is provided or what is the power supply rating. If the power supply is of only 5 volts, then over 5 volts, these two are going to be calibrated. For 1 millivolt variation, how much is the variation? For 10 millivolt, what is the variation? For similarly, in different steps, the calibration is carried out. It is not that what 0, okay, this should give you 0. And for 5 volts, this should give you maximum variation. It is not always like that. So for every step, say if the temperature variations up to 1000 degrees centigrade, if you are monitoring using PT100, and if your power supply is say 5 volts, then over 0 to 5 volts range, the temperature measurements of say 100 to 1000 degrees centigrade. That is, what is the range over there? It is around 900 degrees centigrade. So these 900 degrees centigrades have to be accommodated in 0 to 5 volts variations. So like that, when you calibrate, so the step size also accordingly you will be dividing. So for every 100 millivolts, the variation here is going to be approximately how much? Around 1000 means 1000 divided by 5 volts. So that is going to give you approximate variation for every 1 volt. Again, that 1 volt you will be dividing in millivolts for even smaller variations. So like that, when you divide these, for every smaller step size, the accuracy levels they change. Because how much our proportional variations we discuss, practically over the same range we have seen in RTDs, in some regions, the linearity is not existing. So if these readings or if the calibrations are done in the non-linear region, considering the linear variation, then all these calculations or the calibrations go wrong. So considering all these parameters, the power supply variation and the drifts have to be calibrated properly for different sensors. Hope this is making clear. Any doubts here regarding calibration? Hello? Hello? Yeah, Kalavati, you are there. Okay. So like this, the calibration and the drift in the power supplies and the current variations, all these factors, if not taken care, they automatically influence the readings of your sensor. So for difference measurement, the calibration levels are different. For single point temperature measurements, the calibrations are different. Similarly, for the average ones, the calibrations are different. And accordingly, any drift happening in the power supply has to be taken care. So here, this is what the different parameters, the output, time drift, thermal drift. Thermal drift is the one which happens due to temperature variation, and time drift due to aging of the components. Then supply. Supply is whenever, that's what just now what we discussed, variation in the supply. Either it could be due to altogether connecting a different power supply, or due to variation in the voltage levels which we are using during our experimentation. And the next point is load. Whenever we change the load, this we have checked in our regulator or the power supply or the bridge rectifier circuits, where the load resistance which we have connected, say from 1K to 10K, when we vary, how exactly the loading effect changes the output levels. So this is what we calculated as regulator. So for every circuit, whenever we use or we change the loads, in spite of taking care of all the input conditions, say from voltage, bridges, sensors, then the amplifier, power supply rejection ratio of the amplifier, plus the ADC, DAC, that combination, in spite of taking care of all of them, whenever the load is changing over a wide range, The drift that happens in the output is also considerable. The last parameter is the noise level. When the frequencies are changing, then what is the variation in the noise added in that particular frequency band? That also drifts or causes change in the output voltages. So this specifically for the AC circuits is more. For DC, the noise due to the temperatures, especially the transistor or short noise or thermal noise, due to the semiconducting material which is used in all our devices, that is there. But the noise which is occurring due to the frequency variations, that especially in AC, where the coupling capacitors or other drift capacitors which are in the circuit, there the noise has to be suppressed using some suppressors. So this is regarding your power supply and the drifts happening due to variation in the power supplies. In the next class, we'll discuss about other parameters, how the conditioning can be done, what measures are to be taken to condition the signal. Thank you.